All right, Kathy, shall we get started?
Sure.
All right, thank you everybody so much for coming today. My name is Mara. I'm the ASE program coordinator. This is my first year in the role. As you can imagine, it's quite a year to begin. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us today. I'd also like to thank the school career counselors who made this info session possible, and to thank Kathy Law for taking the time to help us in presenting the information about ACE. I want to get started with a poll so we can get to know who our audience is today. That way we can edit the presentation to fit the needs of our audience. So go ahead and answer that. For who are you, if you're a student and a parent combination, go ahead and answer that as a student. We want to get an idea of what our audience looks like. I'll share the results in a minute. I want to try to give a few of our latecomers a couple minutes to arrive. I appreciate the patience for those who arrived earlier today. Yeah, we'll get started momentarily. So thanks for your patience. Kathy, I'll give this poll about a minute total, and then we can get started with the presentation. How does that sound?
Okay. Yep, sounds good.
Great.
Are you able to put up the poll at the end too for people who come in later?
We can try to do it again at the end, yeah, but I think we should get a good population of who answers it after a minute. I think
if we have a lot of people joining later, it might be good to know.
Yeah, we got a good amount of the audience voted, so any last minute votes, get them in. All right, we will end the poll and I will share the results with our audience here. So we have a good amount of people who are students, which is awesome. We're so happy to have you here. And I'm so happy to see that so many career counselors are sharing our program. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. A lot of parents are sharing the program as well. And friends are telling each other, which is great. And thank you to the teachers who are spreading the word about our program. All right, Kathy, I will pass the mic to you. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good afternoon. My name is Kathy Law, and I run a program at Oregon State University called STEM Academy. We have a bunch of camps and other programs throughout. Things I do is I assist Saturday Academy in their information sessions about their ACE program, Apprenticeships in Science and Engineering. So I'm going to talk to you today about that. If something comes up specifically about what I just said, Maura's going to be scanning the chat for something that needs to be answered right away, so don't be afraid to put something in the chat. But if it's something more, just maybe wait to the end to see if I don't answer it, or if I do answer it, then you'll have your answer. Okay, so ACE's program mission is to help students become our future scientists and engineers. So this is real work experience. You can see here, these students here are in a lab. They are at the Portland VA healthcare system. And one of the students here said, "My mentor has helped shape the way I see myself in the STEM community." This is real work experience, giving students that kind of opportunity to explore things they think they might be interested in, they don't know if they're interested in outside of the school setting. So a unique experience. Here are the fields that the internships take place in: architecture, biology, business, chemistry, computer science, earth science, engineering, environmental science, material science, medical science, and physics. So you can see there's a kind of a large variety. When you start scanning the positions, we'll show you how to do that in a little bit here. You'll see that there are more in certain areas than others. So kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking about what you want to apply for, and you know, your chances of getting it, and also maybe how you would frame your application. So I mentioned the position description. Some of them are already up there, but they're going to add it all shot right here. If you want to go in and get on the mailing list. One of the biggest mistakes I've ever seen, I think it's my 12th year helping with these, is that students go in January and say, I don't see anything I'm interested in. And then they never go back and look. And then they find out later that there was lots they were interested in, they just didn't keep going back. So remember that this is sort of a work in progress of adding these positions. Sometimes positions even get added after the due date for applying. So we'll talk a little bit later about how that will be handled, but it's through a generic cover letter, and then the staff can go and figure out who might be a good person to match with this, even though the deadline's passed and the student hasn't applied for it. All right, so again, in-depth career exploration. This is another student who was at BPA, and he said, I was able to learn more of what the real world really feels like. This is a student from 2015. So some of you may already know exactly what you want to do, and so this gives you an opportunity to go into a mentor organization and apply that and just kind of double check that's what you're interested in. I've actually known students who thought, I really know what I want to do, and then they go in and have an internship and went, not so much, and what a valuable experience that was for them before they invested their college career in majoring in that. So, and I've known some students who said, just really solidified for them, this is what I want to do. I've also known students who weren't sure, and they thought, maybe I got my second or third choice, and they found out, wow, I really love this. So, and I've known students who maybe don't want to do what they did in their internship, but they just felt like it was a really valuable experience to be working in a professional setting. And then sometimes you get a student who thinks they go into a field where they think they want to do a specific thing in that field, and after their internship experience, they'll find that they want to do major in something that's closely related or a subfield of that. So this is an example of that. Alex went to IBM, and he focused first on, thought he was set on software engineering, but then learned through this experience that he was more interested in computer hardware or engineering. So there's all kinds of ways that these positions can be really valuable. All right, so what do you do in these internships? This here is Diego, and he says, I've become a better public speaker. I carry myself differently, and it matured me a lot. So you can see those are other benefits to being in these internships. So interns can do a variety of things. They can be in one project the whole summer. They can be in a series of projects, or maybe a few projects. It depends on the mentor organization. You can get some clues for that when you read the position description. So make sure you're really looking carefully, not just at the title or the prerequisites, but really read the position description to get more information about what you will be doing. There is, so obviously things are a little different now. Last summer, everything was, when we did these sessions, it was intended that it was going to be in person only, and then it had to pivot to virtual. This year, there's going to be a lot of virtual opportunities, but there are going to be some in-person elements of these positions as well. And so far, there are 2 that are only in person. We'll talk a little bit more about that, about the safety in a bit here. So who is eligible? Current 9th through 11th graders. So this is not open to current seniors. Of course, an interest in the STEM field is really important, or at least being willing to explore the STEM fields. The focus is on students from Oregon and Southwest Washington, but anybody's eligible to apply for the virtual internships. But the mentors have the final say in who they select, how they select them, if they do interviews, how they do interviews. It's up to the mentor. So know that a bulk of folks are going to be from Oregon and Southwest Washington. The mentors have the final say on who they select. Make sure to check the position description for clarification. So if it says in-person elements, and you're in another state or far away, then that's not the position for you. So look really carefully about that. The time commitment is 296 hours between June and August. When you go on to look at the position description, it should give an indication there about the scheduling. So typically it's sort of a matchup between your schedule when you get out of school. Some schools get out earlier than others, and the mentor's needs for that position. So it could be like June 15th, or it could be June 21st, but it's somewhere around the middle of June, shortly after you get out of school or right after you get out of school through the middle of to end of August. Expect that the positions are generally standard working hours, Monday through Friday. If there's some elements that aren't like that, it should be described pretty well in the position description. Or if you interview or before you accept a position, you can kind of clarify those things. If you have a really important family event or wedding or something that you need to be at for a week, you know, it's possible that that could work in, but again, it should not be something you surprise the mentor with. So, you know, be upfront about it in advance. You know, if you're in an interview, say, hey, I got to be gone this week. Is that going to be a problem? Or at minimum, when they offer you the position before you accept, you discuss that. There's 3 required dates that we'll go over. So hopefully this event that you might go to will not be a part of that. There's also a calendar calculator on the ASE website where you can kind of plug everything in and make sure that the hours are going to work out. Again, these hours are really around what the mentor and you work out, but the focus is on what works for the position, not what works necessarily, and if you're trying to juggle a whole bunch of things. ASE does not provide transportation or housing, so that's really important when you're considering ones that could have in-person elements or the ones that are fully in-person. You need to choose positions that are within 50 miles of where you live if they have in-person elements. So keep that in mind too. There's a lot of support in the ACE program. There's these workshops for writing cover letters and how to do interview skills. These are free. They are fantastic. The benefit of these workshops goes beyond just applying for these internships. They are excellent skill building for writing your college applications, for scholarship applications, for jobs in the future. Really encourage you to do them. You know, it's a really great add-on that you're going to take away in your skill set from applying and being in this program. I'll help you make a much stronger application. The ASE staff is super responsive. You just met Mara. There's others, so you can go and ask questions from any of them. There are teacher monitors. So every student has a teacher monitor that is assigned to them throughout the summer. This teacher monitor will do site visits. If it's virtual, they'll do site visits in a different way. The point of contact for the mentor, you know, if questions or concerns come up for the student, and their job is to support the student and make it a successful thing, support the mentor, making sure things are going smoothly. It's a really fabulous support system. There are 3 required events, but they're all not just required, but they're also great. They teach you a lot. Orientation gets you oriented to where you're going to be and what's going to happen. The conferences give you a lot of good professional experience or professional conferences. The one on July 15th is virtual, and that's called the Midsummer Conference. The one on August 12th is hopefully going to be in person, but it might have to pivot depending on how things go. And the one on August 12th is where you present about what you did during your summer. So a few of you just went, present, I don't want to do that. Please know there's tons of support. The teacher monitors, the folks at your mentor organization, other students, the ASE staff, they're all there to support students getting through. There are some that are so painfully shy and think they can't do it, and they the end are so proud and realize that it was really not that scary. So don't let that deter you, because there's an expectation to present on August 12th. And every student receives a $1,000 stipend, and that can help with expenses or for whatever it is you need. You need gas, or you can use it for whatever works for you. Okay, so if anybody has attended these info sessions before, this is a new aspect, of course. Most internships will be have opportunities to be held virtually. Some may only be virtual, but so really look through those position descriptions and the prerequisites for any kind of details and expectations. So again, you're worrying about, like, are you close enough for those in-person things? Is that something that you can do? If it's, you know, for whatever health reasons or other concerns that you don't want to do in person elements of then maybe check that out. Ask the ASE staff, maybe work with the mentor on that. It's kind of something that has to be worked out by all parties. It will be clear in there whether it is required to be in person, and then if that's not something that works for you or you live too far away, don't apply for those. Anything that has in-person activities, the students will be required to discuss with the mentor organization their communicable disease plan and sign a waiver. You know, that could be anything from sort of federal and state guidelines about mask wearing and social distancing and so forth, but it could be something specific to the organization. I know at OSU, we have different layers of requirements that go sometimes beyond what is required by the state. So it can be kind of a combination of all those factors. The key is that safety is the #1 priority for the staff, mentors, students. All right, so you might be saying, why would I do this? Why be in an internship all summer? Well, one thing is school credit. A lot of schools give either science or elective credit, and you can ask at your specific school what that is. And for the same reason you might be asking if I should be doing this all summer, remember that when you apply for college and you apply for scholarships and jobs in the future, if you can show that at the age of 16 you were spending your whole summer doing an internship around learning research or something else, that really stands out on college and scholarship and work applications in the future. So just remember that kind of commitment you'd be making will have big payoff later as well. It opens a lot of doors. I know folks that have kept lifelong contact with their mentors, and some I think in most cases they are supports later on in life in many ways, like offering jobs or helping with job recommendations, letters of recommendation for college. Some students go actually to the same college. If it's, for instance, it's OSU, I know a lot of ACE mentors have come back and worked for the students and attended OSU, and worked for the mentors and attended OSU. Some of them become graduate students. It opens doors professionally and personally that, you know, can't be replicated. It's really awesome. All right, how do you sign up? Well, first of all, you got to meet the deadline of March 5th, not March 6th. Please don't send an email on March 6th saying, can I apply? I was a little late. March 5th is the deadline. There's going to be, on the online application, there's going to be some basic contact information that's asked for, a transcript, and I'll go over in a second here what that should look like. There'll be instructions for the 2 adult recommendations. Remember, when you're asking people for a recommendation, so we're talking a little less than 2 months from now that these are due, give those adult recommenders lots of time to think about what they want to write, and it's respectful to them, but they'll come up with a much better recommendation. So think who that might be right now, and start, you know, go and ask them, say, are you willing to do that? And I'll give you the instructions as soon as possible, or give it to them when you ask them. Cover letters. So we talked about the workshops that you can go to learn how to write a good cover letter. You're required to do 1 cover letter. That's a general cover letter for the whole internship program. And we'll talk to someone in a minute about that. But you'll also have the opportunity to do a optional cover letter for each position, and you should do those because those will be geared exactly towards that position that you're applying to. There's also going to be a $35 application fee that will be assessed when you apply. If you've qualified for free and reduced lunch, that is waived. All right, this is what a transcript should look like, or something similar. This is an unofficial transcript, that's fine. Official transcript is fine. It should be a PDF, not a screenshot of something that you looked up your grades online or something to that nature. So it should have student info, your school info, academic history. Usually your Career Center can help you get this, or your registrar's office. It just depends on the school, how you access those. It's a good thing to actually get a couple of times a year anyway, so just kind of have when you're starting to write your applications and apply for scholarships. So it's a good idea to learn how to do this right now. If they're about to post grades, maybe wait until after the grades post, so you have another semester of grades on there. All right, when you navigate to the ASE website, there's tons of good information on there. I'm just going to show you a little bit right now of what you can find. There's a button right there. It says be an intern. That's a good place to start. And you'll land here. So small arrow up at the top is ACE application guide. We'll dive into that in a little bit here. And then down at the bottom, you see the big arrow. That's where you can kind of more investigate about each specific position. So it's an internship catalog, and you can see here, just looking at these three, all of the positions will have a button that says Learn and Apply. So make sure you're not just glancing and go, oh, that one sounds good. Actually open it up and read about it. You can see that of the three here, that they have very different prerequisites. The one on the right says you must be a US resident. The one on the left says pretty tiny print, but it says 16. And the one on the right says must be 14. The one in the middle has no age prerequisite. But read those carefully and then go in and click on the blue button. And here's an example of what you'll find. So again, you can see now all of the things that you saw on the previous screen are kind of on the right. It gives you an idea of the disciplines that are involved, minimum age, prerequisites. And you can see sometimes there's some pretty interesting prerequisites on there. This one says that you're required to have 2 years of foreign language study. They prefer that you have some background in choir or theater. So really read that and make sure that this sounds, it's not required that you have choir or theater, but obviously that's something that they would prefer and really looking for. So, ask yourself if this is a good match for me. And you can see why, because you're going to be creating an electronic book that can sound out English from the Middle Ages. Really interesting sounding internship. Read them carefully. It will hopefully give you all the information you need. And then if you have questions, contact the ACE staff. Do not try to contact the mentor directly. And then once you find, if you say to yourself, oh, that's an interesting one, go ahead and stick it in your internship locker. And it's sort of like an Amazon shopping cart. It saves it for you. So you don't have, when you go back and they keep adding and things move around on the screen, you don't say, oh, where was that? I can't remember it. Go ahead and stick it in there. It's not like you're committing to it, but it just helps save it. All right, cover letters. So again, one is required. The other three are optional, because in each of these, you're going to say why you're applying, how this will impact your life. There are some mentors that is a really key piece. I actually talked to somebody once as a mentor, and they said that is how they choose somebody, is they want to know what they're doing makes an impact on somebody. And then why you would be a good intern. So the general cover letter is, in general, why would you be a good intern. You're going to want to include soft skills and hard skills. So most high school students are really good at sort of articulating their hard skills. That's you know specific computer programming language, you know how to set up a lab, you know, you have certain skills or things you achieve through AP classes, things like that. Your soft skills are the part that are really going to sort of help tell who you are and let the mentor know what kind of person would be coming into their space. So soft skills would be things like a quick learner, you know, self-starter, good leadership skills. I actually know somebody who was an intern about 7 or so years ago who told me that the reason she was selected, somebody shared with her, the reason she was selected is because she was captain of her cheerleading squad. So don't forget to, you know, because it showed leadership and other qualities that they were looking for in an independent intern. And so don't forget to highlight the things that have nothing to do with maybe being in an AP STEM class. They're looking for ways that you're going to stand out over somebody else. So remember, soft skills, include those. They're super important. They're what's going to distinguish you from other people. And then as far as the 3 position cover letters, again, then you're going to kind of narrow it in. You're going to look at the position description. You're going to say, what are they looking for? And you're going to write that cover letter, different from the general cover letter, about why you'd be a good intern for that position. You're trying to sell yourself. Some mentors might get a whole stack of applications for their one position. So how are you going to highlight why they should select you? So tips on getting selected. Meet that March 5th deadline. That's a given, you gotta do that. Write position-specific cover letters. So like we talked about, so you'll be writing 4, get started on them, start thinking about the things you wanna cover. If you know already that there's something out there, start writing some notes about it. You don't have to sit down and write the whole thing right now. Like, what are you gonna write about in that cover letter that highlights why you wanna be in that, why you should. Edit your application. I cannot tell you how obvious it is to most adults who read things when at the last minute. And so please don't wait till last minute, do it ahead of time. And that'll also give you the ability to have many people look at it, give you feedback, help you edit it, look for mistakes or typos. Most adults have done many things, many cover letter type of things in their life experience with applying for jobs or college or other things. So ask for help. And, you know, it's great to have a fellow student look at it, but make sure that you have other adults in your life look at them as well. Give them lots of time. Don't come up to them and say, it's due tomorrow, can you look at this? You know, start now and get ready, get them done, and then ask other people to look. Attend those free workshops, the cover letter writing workshop and the interview skills workshop. They're free, they're great, and they teach you a lot of great skills for this. And make sure you ask questions. So, you know, you can ask questions to ASE staff, you can ask questions here, and then look more thoroughly in the application guide for more information. So back when you're in that, when you've navigated to the Be an Intern page, you can see here again the big arrow this time is on the ASE application guide. And if you look down below, there's a lot of other things to look for here. But and that video in the middle, I really encourage you to watch it. It's a great video, kind of highlights ACE internships. And if you go into the ACE application guide, you'll see there's lots of blue hyperlinks in these pages and all the other pages. So this is another way into browsing current internships if you want to go in through there. But if you go down about 2/3 of the way down, it says ACE cover letter writing guide and interview skills guide. This will give you a lot of clues on how to do a good job. It also reminds you here about all the things that are required in the application. So keep navigating around that site. There's lots of great information there. Another way to help for adults who are on, or if you're maybe your students who are on, and maybe this applies to your parents or other people, adults in your life, we need more mentors. The more mentors there are, the more internships there can be. So consider employers, colleagues, professional groups that you or others are in. If you want to take a screenshot here, this is easy to access contact information from Maura. And also if you want to pass this along to somebody you think would be a good mentor, then you have it ready. Give it a second, take a screenshot, and then we'll go to questions. All right, Mari, do you want to field questions?
I do. I'm answering one last one right now. I encourage everybody who has a question that they've been waiting to ask to go ahead and post it in the Q&A app on the Zoom toolbar.
You know, I am not seeing my Q&A. I'm not sure why that is. There it is. Okay, so I'm opening it up now, Maura, and I don't see, looks like you've answered all the questions at this point.
I have been answering the questions as you've been going along. So I see a couple now.
Great. We could just do these verbally, I guess,
Sure.
at this point, right?
Go ahead, take them away.
So what ID? I guess I'm not sure what that question is. Was that up to another question?
I don't also know what that means, so I think we can move on to the next one.
Okay. So when will you know if you'll be accepted or rejected? In the past, it's been sort of end of April, early May. But Maura, can you answer that? What's kind of the timeline for this year?
So it's going to be early May. So right around May 15th, everybody will know the answer to whether or not they've been accepted or rejected.
Okay, and the minimum age required, that's, if you go into the position descriptions, I pointed out a few of them that said in the prerequisites, one of them said 14, one of them said 16. It just depends on the position. So you'll want to go, the mentors are the ones that put all those up. It's not something that ACE does. So you need to be a freshman, a current freshman, but is the youngest that you can be. But as far as your actual age, that depends on the position. So look in there. Sorry, the screen's moving. I live in Corvallis. Where is the nearest location of ACE internship, physical or not virtual? Well, there'll be a bunch at OSU. I don't know, Mar, do you know if any of the ones local to Corvallis have committed to in-person?
The two committed to in-person are in Colton, Oregon and Portland, Oregon. I know a lot of OSU professors are planning on doing virtual with some in-person elements depending on their lab's policies once we move towards summer. Of course, because of COVID, everything can pivot at the drop of a hat. But of course, I recommend checking out the prerequisites as the sort of the expectation of whether or not it's virtual or hybrid is explained there.
Yeah, and just know, I know because I this last summer at OSU with my summer camp programs and other things, just because it says now we have some in-person elements, if they OSU or something, I mean, I had some seamless because creating the train tracks as we have some experience this, but you know, even if the mentor expects it to be some in-person parts of it, it could be that that's just forbidden reason or another. So just flexibility is kind of a key part of it too. How many internships are available? I think how many are on there right now, Maura?
As of right now, we have 61 internship positions available, and I'm still anticipating adding a couple more throughout January.
Okay, all right, there you go. Do I need to set up an account specific to me? If so, where do I find the link? I'm assuming they're talking about an application. And yes, if this is a student, you need to have your own, you need to be the one with the account. That actually brings up a really good point. So when you go to apply and if you start setting up an account, make sure that you use an email that you check often. In the past, there's been updates and things that have come through there once you have an account. A couple things about email addresses. Make sure if you have not set up your grown-up email account, this is the time to do it, because you will need that for colleges and scholarships. Please don't use some kind of cute thing you made in the 5th grade. Make it sound professional. Remember, you're selling yourself as a professional. Same for your voicemail message. I actually know of a mentor who said they called up to offer an intern a position, heard the voicemail message, hung up, and did not offer it to them. So think about what that is, and you need to be responsive. Don't have it be something I don't check that very often. It needs to, you're kind of getting in grown-up territory here, so you need to be responsive to both email and voicemail. Internships offered in Salem. Mara, is there any in Salem?
I don't think we have any this year in Salem.
Okay. Let's see. 100% virtual internship work. Mark, could you talk a little bit about how they worked last summer, or?
Sure. So in the same way that a completely remote workplace would work, a lot of Teams check-ins, a lot of phone calls, a lot of computer coding and computer modeling for what would normally happen in person. It really depends on what you're doing. But the mentors, if your internship is 100% remote, your mentors are working 100% remote. So they find a way to incorporate you into that work.
And just remember, they've had almost a full year of experience at this point, and a lot of the mentors have, just learned so much about how to do remote work and how to make it meaningful and inclusive. So it'll still be great. Okay, accept. It's completely up to the mentor. The job of ACE is to sort of match the interests of the interns and to the positions, and then they hand that decision-making over to the mentor. So they'll be getting all the things that you upload into the online application, and then it's up to them how they decide. Some mentors pick somebody from what they see on paper. Some do interviews. I've known students that have done individual interviews, group interviews, sometimes a combination of individual and group interviews. So it really depends. But it's up to the mentor. What are the criteria they're using to either? You can apply for 3 internships. You'll be doing that as part of your application. And again, you're going to hopefully write your general cover letter and a cover letter for each of your 3. In the past, somebody's asking about the odds of getting a position. In the past, in this area, it was sort of a 1 in 3. In the Portland area, it was sort of a 1 in 4. Mark, can you speak to that about, I guess you don't really know, because last year when people applied, it was pre-COVID. So are you expecting about the same kinds of odds this year?
I think it depends. I think with COVID, it's all up in the air, but I'd like to add that your odds are 0 if you don't apply. So I encourage you to apply.
That's right. And also remember that if you apply and don't get a position, unless you're a junior, you can apply again next year. But also, even if you're a junior, I just went through the college application process a year and a half ago with my own son. And the difference between that first application and the last scholarships in colleges, I mean, the amount of learning that went on how to craft and present yourself in a short period of time is amazing. This gives you kind of a head start in that process. If you do this and you learn something, maybe you learn something in the interview, or how you write a cover letter, or, your cover letter is a lot like something you're going to put into a college application. So you're going to get really valuable experience just applying for this. So just remember that. Would you need a phone number? Yes, you need a phone number, right?
I think so. If you have a special case, you don't have access to a phone, go ahead and shoot us an email, and we will come up with an alternative for you.
So yeah, email Maura then. That sounds great. How do I set up the account? So let's see, navigate back to, you can still see that. All right, can you see that? Are you talking about the mailing list, or I think that's what they're talking about?
I think they're talking about creating a account where their locker is stored. So if you want to go to the internship slide where they can see to add that to their locker, once it's in their locker, that screen will bring up a button that says continue and create account. And from there, after you've added, exactly. So after you click that add internship to locker button, from there you will be able to create your internship specific application account. And if you have any issues with that, again, please email ace@saturdayacademy.org.
Got another question here about number of internships. Again, it's 3 internships you're applying for. Yeah, so 3 internships. So somebody asked about, oh wait, first of all, this one. Can you apply for things outside of your hometown? If it has any elements, it needs to be within 50 miles of where you live. And the reason for that is there's no transportation or housing provided. In the past, there has been some exceptions made if you go through the ACE office, but I don't know if you're doing that this year with all of the other. Are you considering that? Portland and they want to live with Aunt Sally for the summer. Are you doing anything like that? Or is it a different kind of situation this summer?
Sorry, repeat that, Kathy.
Maura? Yeah, past, apply for an exception if they ahead of time before they apply to get approval to apply for something beyond 50 miles if they have sort of a relative or somebody that they can stay with. Are you doing that this summer, or is that not something we're juggling?
Yeah, on the application, if you have a different address you plan on living at for summer that you have access to, there is an option to enter in your permanent address and a summer address. And we will consider both.
As long as they get it approved ahead of time, rather than waiting till they get the position and then saying, oh, by the way, I don't have anywhere to live.
Exactly.
Yeah, so just make sure, you know, if you've got a situation where there's somebody you can stay with, it's not that you can go stay in a hotel or something. You have to stay with an adult who's in charge. Then go ahead and, you know, maybe contact ACE and just double check that it's gonna work. I've seen several years that people have not done that and think they're gonna just be able to work it out, and they don't. And that means the mentor is without an intern and also leaves the mentor with a really bad taste in their mouth for wanting to sign up for the next year. So please don't do that. Just make sure if that's something you're considering to arrange it ahead of time before you accept anything at a minimum. Yeah, the slideshow is recorded. Maura, where is it going to be?
I'll be sharing it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they'll be sharing it via the mailing list that was in that other slide, or is it going to be online?
I'm going to send it out to the Career Center counselors, and they can distribute it to their students.
Okay. All right. And, oh, there's another question about slides. So yes, with the, whoever is at your school that will get access to this. Any other questions? All right. Oh, something's in the Q&A. All right, are we good? Any more questions?
Kathy, do you want to put that slide up with my contact information one more time so people can take a picture of it just while they're signing off if they need it?
There you go. This one?
Exactly.
That's for contact info, email address, phone number.
So I see a question in the Q&A that's talking about that 50 miles away point again. And if you have a special case, do you see that, Kathy?
Yep, I do.
Do you want to address that one?
Yeah, so I would encourage you to contact ACE right now and ask that question. Just so you don't get yourself into a position of where you think you have somewhere to stay or you think you're going to work it out, and it turns out Aunt Sally is really going to be gone all summer and not ready to supervise you, that you get that worked out ahead of time. In the past, I think there's been sort of an agreement that's been made between all the different parties. So it's possible if it's a supervised place that you can arrange, but you need to arrange that with ACE. And I would actually do that now, just kind of run it through them, see what they think. Is there a way to filter searches based on age and location? There is on location. I don't believe there is on age. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and then is there any experience that you recommend everyone have? I think the way to answer that is to look into that position. So you can see the one we talked about, they require the foreign language and the preferred experience with choir or theater. I mean, it's going to be either spelled out in the prerequisites what they're looking for or implied in what they wrote on the left-hand side about the position. So this is sort of a first skills test, and you'll have to do this with colleges and scholarships as well. You kind of want to read and what are they looking for? What's going to make me stand out? Maybe you go into the website and kind of poke around and see the kinds of things they have and what they highlight, the staff that they're really proud of, things like that. So sort of doing a little bit of detective work, and then, forming your answers to on your cover letter to that.
Can I just add to that really quick, Kathy?
Yeah, please.
I think our workshops also are excellent experiences. Helping with the cover letter and interview skills should, that would really set you apart from the stack, I think.
I think
and those are free workshops offered through ACE. So I would highly encourage you to participate in those as well.
Yeah, and in those workshops, you'll get a little bit more help. And just don't forget about those soft and hard skills. Hard skills are something that people find really easy to put on there, and the soft skills are harder. And so when you go to those workshops, craft those cover letters to really highlight those things. Adult recommendation letters. We get this question a lot, like who's the best person? Again, read into it. So the one that talked about theater and choir, that one, having a recommendation from your choir teacher would be awesome. For Girl Scout leader, if it's one that you kind of think that for whatever reason that Girl Scout leader knows you better than a teacher, or that position is asking for something that kind of lines up more with what a Girl Scout leader knows about you, maybe heavy leadership skills or things like that you're trying to highlight. So again, it's really not a set answer. The first job is sort of reading into these positions and what this mentor organization is about, to think about what do you think would sell me the best to this mentor and mentor organization. I'm going to go back to that. Oops, hang on. Let's see. Okay, so when you go in the ASE application guide, you can see right about 2/3 of the way down, there's those links there. Those are the writing skills and the interview skills. Mara, where I saw that, the links to the workshops.
I just put the link in the chat. It's actually from our homepage in the events page. So go ahead and head to the chat if you're looking for the direct link to our events page.
All right, great. Oh, will interns be working together as an intern and a mentor? Totally depends. I know at OSU, there's quite a few that are single internships, but there's also some that have several in the same, either with the same mentor and their lab, for instance. And then I've also known ones that will be like a couple of different professors, each have one mentor, but they kind of work together, or the mentors are sort of in the same space, maybe working on different projects, but they're kind of as a team. So it really depends. And as far as working with just your mentor, sometimes you're working with a whole bunch of people, not just a single mentor. So your mentor could be the person on record, but you could be working with their lab staff or graduate students or other that are at an organization that aren't at a university. And sometimes you have closer contact with them than the actual mentor. Sometimes it really is just an intern and a mentor. If you have specific questions, like if you go in and you find one that's interesting and that's something that's of concern to you, I would suggest you contact Maura right away and just. You have to have two, so you would need a second person. Make sure when you're getting your recommendation letters that they're not two people who are going to say exactly the same thing. Like if you have two science teachers and neither of them really knows you as far as your soft skills, a science teacher and somebody like your Girl Scout leader that knows another side of you. It just depends. Really read into those position descriptions. There's no right answer. It depends on you trying to figure out what it is they're looking for. And that's how you're going to write your cover letter, and that's how you're going to choose who does your recommendation. Is the January 27th meeting the same as this one? Yes, essentially it will be the same. It's just open to more schools or more people. Mentor, you want to answer this one, Mara? Which fields thus far are going to be in person?
Sure. So the hybrid ones, we have quite a selection of hybrid internships so far. But the two that are in person for sure are reforestation and a nuclear reactor internship at Reed College, which is very cool.
Nice. All right, another question about letters of recommendation. They're for the overall app. Great question. So there's a general cover letter and then positions specific cover letters. But for the letters of recommendation, there's two for the whole thing. So yes, you want to get, think about, that's a good question. Actually never had that question. Think about how you want to highlight your whole self for all three positions that you're applying for. Haven't taken any science classes since high school. Okay, another question about letters of recommendation. So if you don't feel like, because you've only been doing science classes in high school with somebody online and you don't feel like they know you, I mean, some teachers actually know their students pretty well from the online setting. So it's really up to you whether you think you're, you know, if you're someone that always has your screen off and they don't know you at all, maybe that's not the best person to be writing your letters of recommendation. You know, you're going to have to figure out who's going to know you the best to help sell you for that position or positions in general. So I need to go out of town. Okay, so this is the scheduling question for a week or two. So kind of the rule of thumb is usually a week will work unless it falls in some kind of critical time, either for the required attendance events or something that's going on in the mentor organizations, like if that's when you're doing lab samples and it's critical that you're there. So there's a couple things you can do. If you already know when it is, and you already see a conflict, I talked to Mara. If you get a mentor or are being offered a position, and tell them right then. So don't put them in a bad position by saying, not mentioning it to them until you get in there in June. So say, hey, I'm really interested in this internship and really excited about it, but I absolutely have to be gone this week. Does that make me ineligible? And be upfront about that. No surprises.
Just to add, Kathy, I recommend using the calendar calculator as a tool to budget your time, and that is also available on the website.
Yeah.
And you can find that in our FAQ.
Yeah, I want to make sure that they remember that it's not just based on whether they can fit the hours in, but if that's when they're doing their field samples, then that's not the right position for them. So I've seen that happen quite, more often than it should, where they don't tell somebody and then they select them and then they get in there and they say, well, I got to be gone for the last 2 weeks of July. And the mentor's like, what? So just be really upfront about that.
Great point.
I'm a 9th grader. Can I ask a middle school teacher? I don't know. What do you, I mean, it's kind of a unique situation. I think I don't know, if that middle school teacher knows you really well and you have an explanation as to why you aren't using, like if you haven't had science yet, maybe your science isn't until next semester, that's a great explanation. But if it's just that you haven't really engaged with your current high school teacher, that's kind of probably a little bit more of a red flag. So use your best judgment. Is it because your middle school teacher knows you're really excited about science? Then, I'm thinking that they're probably going to prefer high school teachers, but if you're a freshman and, you don't feel you haven't had science or they haven't, you've gotten to know that person, then maybe that's a better road to go.
Also, just to add, Kathy, we realize that and I think the mentors do too, realize that this is a unique year.
Yeah.
And maybe not all students have had the chance to really get to know their teachers yet.
Yeah.
So you 9th graders are in a really unique position. And we do not have a policy against asking your middle school teachers for recommendations. So please keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Calendar, we got the other question about that, freshman. Calendar calculator, we just need to get the hours done before August. But again, I want to keep reiterating, it's not just the hours, but it has to work in the mentor's schedule, not just your schedule. So if you've trying to juggle a whole bunch of stuff, check that out with the mentor ahead of time. You're not, most students tell me that within the first week or two that they don't realize how exhausting it is to work full time. If you've never done it before, it's hard work, and especially when you're using your brain a lot, it's tiring. So just, it's not about hours. You can't assume because I can do 4 hours at night that's when I can get some of my work done. It's possible that might work with the mentor, but again, the presumption is a full-time daytime job, Monday through Friday, normal work hours. So don't just look at the hours. Also check in with the mentor in the interview or before you accept any kind of position to make sure they have the same picture in mind that you do. Okay, anything else? Any more questions?
I don't see any more. I think we've got them all.
Great.
And unless any last minute questions come in, I again just want to thank everybody for their time joining us today, and thank Kathy, thank the Saturday Academy operations team for supporting us. And please, if you have any questions, do not contact the mentors, contact ACE directly. Yes. And you can do that at ace@saturdayacademy.com. Visit our website. There is a fabulous FAQ. And I will be happy to get back to you as soon as I can. Kathy, do you have any last minute things to add?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing. It's really important that this is sort of a shift, and you're thinking about these adults sort of helping you, that you're trying to fit in within sort of an adult professional role here. So don't contact the mentors asking for things, contact the organization, contact ACE, and to, you know, when you're actually matched with a mentor, that's a different conversation, but not now. And somebody wants me to do and again, remember to change your voicemail. Go back and double check if you are still using your 5th grade email. Create something, get a Gmail account, it's free, get a Gmail account that's going to be the one you use going forward for all of your applications, college things, stuff like that. So the anonymous attendee said the address ACE is ASE, not ACE. So make sure, I will actually go back to the, there we go. And it's .org, by the way. Here's the phone number. Somebody asked about frequently asked questions. That should be accessible on the website as well. There's a handout, right, that we used to have, and we did these in person, that had the frequently asked questions on the back, but it's also it's currently on the website, right, Mara?
Yes, I also just added the link to the chat. So if you're looking for the FAQ, go ahead and look at the chat, and the link is there.
Okay, and so the person who asked about the phone number and website, here you go. Anybody else? All right. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for coming. Good luck.
Take care. Good luck. Bye.
Bye.